Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to day 11 of the Eastern Europe Summer Tour for Division 1. We're going to be kicking off 9Pandas taking on HYDRA. We got two best of threes tonight. Danog, we're getting towards the tail end. It's a third last day here for the final tour of the year.
It is, and you know what that means? It means that every single series is just getting more and more important. You know, teams wanting to get to the major, teams wanting to avoid relegation. There's a lot of stakes on the line.
Yes, there is indeed. And about those stakes as well for this series in particular, Spirit, a win and they book their ticket into the Bali Major. So there is a lot they're playing for. And for HYDRA, well, still there's a lot yet really to be determined for this team as well. Potential relegation, potential middle of the pack, and if some things go their way, potential tiebreakers for that third slot as well. Now that's really getting, you know, some crazy talk out there for that last one, but really it's kind of they're fighting for at least their Division 1 lives.
They are, and I think the word you use is perfect for all this, potential, because I think that's what HYDRA has. They have potential in spades. You know, Dream, he's still not the oldest guy. You know, he's younger than Sumail, for example. So even though he kind of joined the pro scene at around a similar time, was that young prodigy of the Eastern European scene, he hasn't really had that climbing point, but you always feel like he's right at the edge there for being able to take that next step. So this is a pretty good challenge for Kami, Dream, whatever you want to call him, because 9Pandas, it's a pretty high hill to climb.
Yeah, and they're going to need him in this series in particular. We've been very impressed with Dream showing, with Kami showing through a lot of the games. Unfortunately, just hasn't been able to result in victories, though. So we'll see if this one in particular against 9Pandas is going to be a little bit different, because 9Pandas, honestly, probably look like the weaker team against... I'd say out of the top three. I mean, they're 3-1, so let's get that out of the way real quick. They're 3-1, but they have lost 4 maps, and those maps, you know, they've been a bit rocky in some of those series.
You could say that, but Spirit are 5-0, and they've lost 5 maps. So, you know, anything can happen. They're the king of the 3-game series. And you know, I want an early prediction from you, not even for this series, for the next one. Are we seeing another 3 games?
Probably. I mean, would you just... You have to go with it, right? There's all 5 series have gone 3 games. You just gotta go with what you think is more likely going to happen. The probability, follow the script. The script is at least showing that it's going to be 3 games. I hope we get 3 games in all our series. Hopefully this one is going to go the distance as well. Hopefully we get an exciting one too. So our draft is set. Panda's going to be on the rating side. We got HYDRA on the Dire side as well. Nothing too crazy with the bans. We got a Beastmaster Pugner from 9Pandas, and then a Doom as well from HYDRA at the moment.
So I quite like what 9Pandas have done with this first phase. I feel like Cloud, his Beastmaster, is by far his best hero, so just get rid of it. And then the Pugner, the person that I've been most impressed on HYDRA has actually been Warwick. You know, he's been winning a lot of these lanes very comfortably, and I feel like the Pugner enables you to, you know, be that mid laner that wins the lane and then continues to snowball out of control. Obviously, with the mana battery, gas station, whatever you want to call it, it's just such an effective tool at just keeping the momentum going. So really like that from 9Pandas. HYDRA, they won the coin flip, by the way, so they chose second pick, so they're going to be able to give at least 2 of the lanes that advantageous matchup. So for both teams, pretty satisfied. You do have to be a little bit careful though, because it is 9Pandas, it is Kiyotaka, and it is a potential of a Tinker at the end of this first phase.
Well, if they're going to open up though with the Magnus, so nothing too crazy. Of course, one of the very, very strong heroes at the moment. There was a lot still left for them. What route they wanted to go down. Let's see what HYDRA and how they're going to try and address the Magnus.
5 seconds remaining.
I feel like a Rubik is fine here. You know, Lil, very comfortable on the Rubik. Yes, it's not that, like, backline disable, but if you could steal the RP, if you could steal the skewer, it's a good interrupt for the Magnus. Yes, you become a much higher priority, but it's Lil, right? Like, his steals were very good in the previous games. It's just that they delayed them for so long in their previous matchup that the steals weren't actually impactful for the previous fights, right? He's always just been on point at being able to find those right big changing ultimates. What's up?
It's really only been like Techies or Rubik that Lil has played. So this Undying, I suppose, is a bit of a block pick in a sense where it's gonna heavily mitigate how much
10
Mag's gonna get
seconds
out of the
remaining.
lane, and Solo really enjoys playing this hero as well. So it's
5
just
seconds
probably
remaining.
their response to the Magnus that they're looking to address him in the lane at the moment, and maybe they feel like they can get the Rubik later on, because that's going to address like some of the early to mid game fights, right, with your telekinesis save for the skill back.
You'd have to say they're picking
Terribly.
Sky now, don't you? Don't you think? Like, this is just pretty great Skywrath mage lane. You know, Undying, he's going to be spamming out the decay onto you, and you could just keep harassing. I mean, I guess you could. You could Tinker or Skywrath, honestly. Both of them are totally fine in this sort
If
of
you
game,
don't tinker
right?
here, you won't get it. If you don't tinker here, you will not get it in the second phase.
All right.
5 seconds remaining.
We will call it early. Let's see if Kiyotaka's feeling himself today. I mean, again, like, it seems like they're feeling confident that regardless of what they pick now, Kami's going to have a good lane, and they still got those, like, last picks for the second and third phases because they've got second pick overall. So I don't hate this as a start. Actually, going to Void Spirit. I mean, it scales pretty well too with a Magnus, right? Like, you don't actually need to worry too much about falling behind, and it feels solid enough, you know, being able to be that backline disabler too.
10 seconds remaining.
That it does. That it does. I'm always a big fan of the Void Spirit. I think this
5
hero
seconds remaining.
so a little bit. I don't want to say undervalued. I mean, he's been getting picked
think
up
he's
here and there, but I'm
undervalued. I'm just trying to think
I
of like
feel
what are
like-
the big counters to it in the lane. Like Mag's
Dire
one,
team
Kunkka kind of is one, but Kunkka's kind of trash, and they've got the Magnus, so feels pretty good to be able to start this one
Radiant
out. I
team
guess
back.
like Husker, but then your draft is so narrow in focus that it kind of takes away a big potential for Warwick to play something really good. I mean, Warwick's been playing a great Void Spirit too. Let's keep that in mind. So also just stealing it away from him.
Ember's like a soft counter. I wouldn't say it's
10
like one of the big
seconds
ones,
remaining.
Yeah.
but at the moment I mean, it's really going to depend on what
5
9Pandas
seconds
pick up in this next phase. You could open with an Ember from HYDRA, depending on what you ban. I mean, you've gotten rid of Sky, which is
Dire team back.
something that you already mentioned. Could also be some issues versus the Ember, so we'll see if there's going to be any other supports they want to get rid of that offer some control as well. But
Radiant
you also
team
mentioned Lil's Rubik, and that too is not going to be available for HYDRA.
I'm also thinking just like what is Antares going to play now too. I mean, Keeper of the Light potentially. It's something that lanes pretty well against this TB Undying. Can buff up the Magnus. Again, it's that continuous
10
steroid
seconds
for the
remaining.
Void Spirit just to keep the action going in team fights, and you keep up in farm.
5 seconds
I
remaining.
think Coddle would be totally cool here for him to pick up. I mean, another option is just like Puck or something like that for HYDRA. It's something that Warwick plays fairly well. You can't really get away from it as the Void Spirit holds them in place so that the Tombstone and the TB have a little bit more impact. Takes away like the skewer escape potential a bit, I suppose.
And I think it adds a lot of value with the Undying Terrorblade. Like, their heroes that Tombstone meta popped, it's instant
You
call
can
to
rotate
retreat
to that
away.
lane. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, even early on I was thinking more fights, but exactly right. If you want to try and really shut down the Magnus, I mean, the Puck's a great hero to rotate. That being said, you know, the matchup with Void Spirit can go back and forth. But I wonder maybe not as much anymore, because Voids really don't build dual scepters and the scepter. Like, I mean, still the physical damage I can imagine would be very, very annoying for the Puck if you do get control, but that was the big thing that the Void Spirit was able to provide in that matchup, where you got a guaranteed stun, because that can always be really the difficult thing versus the Puck. So now at least if you have someone else, then you can provide a whole lot of damage.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
10 seconds
I still see
remaining.
the occasional Aghanim Scepter on the Void Spirit, right? It really just depends, like, what
5
backline
seconds
disrupt needs to be
remaining.
happening, you know? Or if you need... I mean, this might be the game for it, right? A little bit of chaos to allow the Magnus to be able to find a skewer in, get that RP off, can turn a team fight around. So, we'll see. I mean, they're just really doubling down on protecting this Terrorblade, right? The Enchantress and the Skyroth would have been absolutely horrible for him to be able to play against in the lane, and they know that they're always going to have the response pick for these next two phases. I would assume they're just going to pick their position 4 now, and then round it out
10
with
seconds
whatever
remaining.
mid laner they're wanting for Warwick. I still think the Puck is totally viable.
5 seconds
Maybe
remaining.
they just want a little bit of extra damage. I mean, could they even just snipe the Coddle? I wouldn't hate it, but it would give them a little bit of lack of lockdown is my main concern. But I mean, Lil hasn't really been playing too much else that hasn't been banned out, right? Basically only the Bounty Hunter, and that's pretty much it that he's been doing this time around. I guess they do the 4 Doom on Lil. It's a possibility.
It's banned first phase.
That's not a possibility.
Radiant team picked.
Coddle Bounty Hunter, I mean, he plays Monkey King, but it's not really a monkey game. No, it's a little bit more lockdown, right? And it's just fine in my eyes, right? You need more stuff to be able to reliably land these arrows. I still think Puck's the one that could look to follow after this.
10 seconds remaining.
So what do you do in response to this now? I mean, you've got plenty of control, you've got plenty of scaling, good solid right-click damage,
Radiant team picked.
decent control. I mean, maybe just something that puts a little bit of extra tempo out on the map. Wasn't expecting a Wind Ranger, to be honest. I mean, can you see anything that it's, like, directly countering?
4 Wind Ranger could be pretty nice versus the Undying with the high right-click damage.
10
I
seconds
also know
remaining.
Ramses has been playing a lot of carry Wind Ranger.
Oh,
I don't
no, not
know
that.
how...
Team pick.
He might feel it's pretty decent with like a... just all the Maelstrom procs or
Radiant
whatever he
team
wants to
back.
build. I'm not sure
And
if he feels like this is strong enough into the Terrorblade, but I can also see a lot of value with Antares playing it.
Yeah, and I guess as well, you have to consider that they do have, like I was saying before, a lack of lockdown. So Wind Ranger just has a completely free fight, basically. You know, like, you might not even have to go
10
BKB early-ish,
seconds
just
remaining.
because you're going to be able to avoid a lot of that stuff. They do go with the Ember Spirit, though. Again,
5
Ember Mirana,
seconds
solid
remaining.
combination, decent enough against the Void Spirit. I think it's fine.
Dire
It's something that
team
Warwick
back.
plays very well, too. I'm just thinking, like, is there anything that they can look to go with this last pick overall that's going to... You know what I would love for Cloud? I'd love a Brewmaster here. Just to be able to completely isolate someone from the fight, have that Dispel for the
10
Wind Run,
seconds
and the
remaining.
Frost Shield, and the Resonant Pulse. It's something that you're able to
5 seconds
enable the
remaining.
Cinder Brew from afar with the Mirana, with the just Blood Grenades being very, very good these days, and they'll know what the matchup is as well, that they're going up into. So if it's a good Brewmaster matchup that doesn't get too aggressive, I can see it working.
Yeah, I think that's a really good suggestion. Gives him a... They currently
team
lack a little
back.
bit of team fight as well. They really only have the Undying, I suppose. I mean, Terrorblade's very strong, yes, but you don't really have that big team fighting hero where the Brew's able to potentially fulfill some of your weaknesses. For Pandas, can they get crazy? Because, I mean, Lich likes to be paired with a melee hero.
10 seconds
We were
remaining.
suggesting like the Wind Ranger being a 4 or a 1. Can they even put the Magnus as a
5
1 and look to
seconds
try and
remaining.
get a different
Dire
offlaner
team
to
back.
play into the Undying if they've like heavily countered it?
I was about to say the Monkey King just to still give them that flex option, but Hydra have read that and banned it out, right? Something that they can put between the 1 and the 4. So I'm really struggling to think of what they actually want to go for here. I mean, I would assume that it's going to be some sort of
10
melee hero
seconds
just with these
remaining.
9Pandas bans, right? You don't really want to walk up into an Axe with the counter Helix, with the
5
Tide, with
seconds
the
remaining.
Anchor Smash, so... it's just... I mean, you gotta be sure. You gotta be sure about it. It's always worth it, just getting rid of that Tinker at the very last phase. But... I mean... whenever I see Terrorblade, I want to see
10
Muerta
seconds
come out.
remaining.
I'm just not sure if this is the game for it necessarily.
5 seconds remaining.
It does let you kill the Tombstone quick-ish, I guess, with the Gunslinger procs, but... not so sure with the Lich. I mean, slows plus the Calling plus Deadshot gives you a decent amount of kill threat in lane, I suppose.
I think it's just a big question of where they want to flex these heroes on Pandas. We'll get the Morphling. Okay, so it is nothing too crazy. Going to be the Mag 3, Wind Ranger 4. But Ramses' hero getting picked up as well.
So, what can they go for here? Could they get away with, like... Again, this comes
It
back
has to
down
be
to
someone
Cloud
with
and
a
his
stun.
hero pool.
10
It has to be something with a
seconds
stun
remaining.
or a root, potentially. Like, I'm thinking, could it be Dragon Knight? It's something that he
5
plays,
seconds
and it also
remaining.
ups the tempo against the Morphling. Could it even be like an off-lane Lone Druid? Because Morphling Lich really doesn't output that much damage in the lane, and I feel like you can get away with it, because that's how you counter Lone Druid, is like early damage to kill the bear. And if you don't have that, then he can really just open up the map quite heavily. Also, a lucky route into an arrow. You can find a quick pick-off off the back of that. Just not sure if it's in Cloud's wheelhouse, though. I just want them to up their tempo. You cannot go late against Magnus, Void Spirit with Empower, Lich Frost Shield when you don't have a Dispel and a Morphling. So, I mean, DK feels like an overall fine answer to it, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, it really provides them what they're lacking, just that point-click stun to be able to set up for the Mirana. We're gonna... well, this is... here I completely forgot about. Go down the Underlord route, why not? I mean, it's your Ori build-up. The pit can be kind of nice for the Mirana as well. Also very annoying for the Void Spirit. It's actually going to be Ramses playing the Void Spirit as well. So Kiyotaka is going to pick up the Morphling, and we've seen this be very Morphling favored against the Ember Spirit in the mid lane. So they're looking to try and avoid that. Now you've got your melee paired with your range hero with the Lich as well, so that could have a lot of kill threat. I don't know. I wonder though, because against the Underlord, like, I mean, this is a hero that doesn't often die in the lane with your damage advantage, but this is a cute adaptation for Pandas.
It is. You got to kill him real early, you know, if you're looking to get any sort of action in that lane. Because still, even with this little bit of a flex up, I was assuming, you know, Morphling Lich, well, once Underlord has Vanguard, you're really not killing him, and it enables the Mirana to make rotations. Now with the Void Spirit being changed to being the position 1, you've got a lot more sustained, consistent damage that you might actually be able to take that Underlord down. So I wonder how HYDRA are going to be able to respond to that, and if it's going to impact, because I feel like Lil is going to be needed to rotate towards that mid lane, because Ember is not going to have a good time against this Morphling.
Yeah, well, we'll see how that game is going, how that lane's going to shape up, and importantly, how that game is going to shape up as well. But first, a word from our sponsor, EGB.
Bets on esports, bets on streamers, impressive bonus system. Welcome bonus up to $600, cashback, artifacts, regular promotions, daily giveaways. Try yourself as a bookmaker. Great lines. EGB.com, more than just a bookmaker.
We are off for our game 1. Like we said, Pandas looking to try and show their flexibility. They're the ones with at least the odds in their favor as well. Looking pretty good to start for them. We'll see if that's going to continue on, but HYDRA, they've been a scary team. Haven't been able to rack up too many wins, but have been very competitive in a lot of their series so far. We'll see if this game 1 is going to be enough for them with the lineup they have.
I'm not sure if they saw the Lil placing out that Observer Ward. It might have just been a little bit short while he was in the tree line there, but even skilling up the win run to make sure that Antares was able to get out there with the smoke, with the increased movement speed at nighttime. I mean, any time that you've got that percentage increased movement speed, when you get the flat bonus at that nighttime period, it's going to be extra beneficial, but I'm not sure if he actually ended up scouting out anything, and this isn't exactly a lineup that loves to take a lot of these ancient stacks. Like, Underlord can do it for sure, but I feel like you picked it just so you can keep it in the lane, keep it pressured away, and make sure that what they assumed was the Morphling wasn't able to just get that free farm. So we'll see how they look to flex it up here.
The battle begins.
So how are we expecting these lanes to go though in regards to teams that are supposed to win? Do we feel like, you know, mid should be probably Morphling favored? Then what about top and bottom? Who do we think has got the advantage in these lanes?
Just having like a review of some of the initial right-click damage, like on the Wind Ranger, for example. Gone very heavy into stats has Antares, so he should be able to stay plenty far away from this Undying. Basically, his job is make sure there's never a double decay in the lane and keep harassing away Kami as much as possible, because he's the only one that's going to be able to respond to them in the early stages, right? As long as there's not this early pressure coming out from the TB, then you're going to be able to sit back and scale a little bit more with the Morphling, with the Magnus, even the Void Spirit.
We'll see how that scaling is able to come into play though for 9Pandas. I guess for HYDRA then, what do we need to look at for their tempo in a way? Like, if you're concerned about Pandas being able to scale very well into the late game, what needs to go well for HYDRA early on to be able to prevent that?
Well, this is kind of why I was wanting those that Dragon Knight instead. You know, it would have meant that you're able to put a little bit more pressure onto the towers, take away some of the map that these greedy cores are going to be able to use to farm with. But with the Underlord, it's a little bit more like lane shovey still, even though, you know, it might not be taking towers. So it'll enable Lil to, for example, make a rotation towards the mid lane. He should know that this cliff is warded as well, just because of how Solo was able to get the D ward off onto the hard camp previously. So I want to see him open that one up, make sure that they've got the potential to be able to influence the lane so that it's further back towards their tower, and he can look to leave the lane as quickly as he can. And Happy, he's almost out of resources already, ferrying himself a bunch of extra tangos. Just the one mango left and magic stick, and well, Kami hasn't popped the metamorphosis just yet. The wave is pushing in so much that actually he is going to use it just to try and keep them away, but this is time spent where he's just going to be farming, not necessarily put any sort of kill threat on, and Nero, he's even looking to get aggressive. Kind of surprising, honestly.
Resources expended between either side up top. Meanwhile, mid lane does look like Kiyotaka's already off to a good side. I thought this lane gets a little bit more dominant for the Morphling as the lane goes on, and once you... Oh, first blood, actually top. Alright, Kami. He'll be able to find it. So, there you go. You get value out of that first meta. Value out of the Tombstone, lay it down as well.
Oh, that is so worth it though. Like, Happy was completely out of resources, so with that assist gold that he gets, able to buy up a bunch of extra mangoes, a clarity, some tangos for himself as well, and it's just like you said, as that meta was expiring and about a second before the skew was back up again, so literally frame perfect coming through from HYDRA there. Finally, Lil able to get the sentry ward removed from the hard camp there. Solo doesn't have any left for himself, so we'll need to get some body blocks off. I wonder if they might even look to say to Cloud, hey, you need to make sure that you're here with me so that you can actually just look to kill Solo if he gets out of position. Yeah, looking to get quite aggressive onto him, even dropping the blood grenade here as Lil. 2 leap charges left.
I was gonna say, is he gonna look for a solo kill? Solo playing with the Lotus though. Haha, didn't mean it, but kind of worked out in the end. Alright, so yeah, back and forth, nothing too crazy. See, a little bit hesitant. I mean, Ramsey's it's doing good. 18-2. Wonder what the I can't imagine the item builds any different for Ramsey this game. Like, we're probably again looking at the treads, Echo Saber. Eventually, you'll be able to build that up into the upgraded Echo as well with the Harpoon, but we've seen a lot of the Manta sell into the Nullifier. Haven't really seen too much of the Deso top lane. Miro gets a little bit of extra damage on the Happy under the tower, but they weren't able to hold him into place, and Tyrus didn't find an angle for the Shackle.
I'd say you're pretty happy right now if you're HYDRA, right? Obviously that mid lane going horribly for the Ember Spirit, but this is just the value of that flex pick, right? Being able to throw the Morphling into the mid lane, put the Void Spirit in the safe lane instead. But I mean, Cloud's having a totally fine time, so he's going to be able to pick up a lot of his early farm, be unkillable, and really enable Lil to make some of these rotations like he is trying to onto Solo here. But oh, he's playing with the tree line pretty well.
Well done. Very close once again. Solo almost going down, but
oh, his courier, that's got a lot of his stats on it as well. So he just used his last tango. He's basically got one more attempt play, but he's going to need to wait about 20 seconds for it, considering he's basically got the Star Storm only. Leap still 15 seconds away, so Solo, despite the fact that he's low on resources too, he's going to be able to be just fine, I would assume, unless he gets killed under the tower. Okay, good. Raindrops coming through for him as well, so he can just look to man fight up against this Mirana.
The helping hand before he leaves the lane. Quick little pull from Solos, and then he's gonna leave Ramses to his own devices for a bit of time, so nothing too crazy going on. Of course, we had that first blood earlier on top lane with that first use in the meta. They've already popped another one. Haven't been able to get the kill though for Kami. Able to secure the lane. Might have some battle breaking up mid though. We have both support from HYDRA looking to move on over. I guess it's the one big thing about Lil going back to base. Sorry, about Solo going back to base is that he's not going to be here to contest the power rune, as well, Warwick was actually a little bit too late. It doesn't get the refill. I guess you do take it away from Kiyotaka, who now has Solo TP in, so...
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, you've got your Vanguard now, right, on Cloud. You've even given him over the Healing Lotus just to make sure he's super sustainable in this lane. Where my eyes are looking for is, like, what else could Solo look to do around the map? Because I feel like your kill threat for that bottom lane completely gone. So is it more about just getting up some of this deep observer wards? Is it looking to play around this top lane to make sure you can get a kill onto the TB? Because he doesn't have meta for a full minute. He's got the salve at least to be able to save himself, and, well, Solo might actually be dying here.
See how much that Frost Shield's able to protect him. Has some stick charges as well, but not too many. They might even look for Antares too. Warwick's not going to be able to catch up with it, but the boot's not delivered just yet. Warwick's going to look to go all the way back to base and fill up. We do have those Wisdom Rooms coming shortly as well, so Lil already priming his position. He's going to be able to get a stack as well at the same time, and of course across the map, Antares, he picks up 9Pandas Wisdom Room.
So I wonder, like, at what point is Warwick going to be thinking that he can make some sort of move towards the bottom lane? Maybe it's going to be around a power rune, because he's got that one point in the Searing Chains, right? You've got the combo set up to be able to land this arrow, and right now Void Spirit's sitting on about half HP. You know, he's got the Bracer, sure, so a little bit of that extra regen for the lane, but I feel like you got to try and just push this guy out of lane ASAP. I mean, if you do that, you've got Kiyotaka just sitting in the mid lane, almost doubling the Ember Spirit's net worth at this stage. And he's going to look to take the tower if you leave.
Yeah, something...
Was that just an arrow? Surprise arrow?
No way. Oh my god, Lil's a baller. Yeah, it was. It was from the right side. Morphling was agi shifting down and it just connected from afar. Just ran straight into it. Warwick.
Nicely done.
Might be in some trouble. Almost goes down, but it's not enough. And now Solo... Let's get with the kill. And Tyrus has already used the wind run as well. It's going to be back up in a couple of seconds. 3 points decay is a lot of burst. It's not enough with Lil not nearby. Lil's still going to go for it though. Tyrus out, but a step out of danger. Now Kiyotaka wants
one more arrow.
Try and make amends, but the power shot's it's going to be off the mark. Although still will be chased down nonetheless. Pray and hope.
A little bit of bait, but it gives space for Warwick, right? To shove the lane in, to get that full wave completely unopposed. Gets the Arcane Rune as well, off the back of all of that. I mean, that really is a kill that they were not expecting to be able to get, so big props to Lil. Just being able to make a few of those early rotations, secure Warwick a few power runes, make sure that this Morphling doesn't get further out of control than he already is.
Yeah, but it feels like you need to do that like 3 more times. He's so poor on Warwick. That's just... And like you said, I mean, if you leave this mid lane and you don't get kills out of it, then Kiyotaka is just going to continue to excel in the net. Oh, he's primed. He's ready to go. Attribute shift. So yeah, I think they'll probably stop now.
That was like an anomaly coming through, pretty much, where the Morphling unfortunately just gives up their death. He's going for a Diffusal Blade this time around. So again, like you've got the scaling lineup. I keep saying this, but I mean, that's going to delay the enemy team.
Oh, it actually hit Miro. I guess that's not the worst target with the Vanguard. He's going to be able to reposition. RP's at the ready, but 9Pandas going to be lacking a lot of the damage. He'll still commit the ultimate. Now with Ramses here. It's a big combo out with the Void Spirit. Double Astral Steps, able to secure 2 kills, and they can help reposition thanks to the Shackles as well, covering the escape. Beautifully done from 9Pandas. Miero finds an opening for the ultimate. That's a big one for them as well.
Yeah, he was holding on to a 20-stick charge at the time, still having the Vanguard being underneath the tower as well. Just caused them to commit a little bit too deep. The plus side, of course, is that Cloud, he's able to very quickly just get back towards that bot lane, keep the pressure up there. That's the one area that they are actually having the advantage in on HYDRA, is just being able to keep those towers pressured. So it should open up this bottom side for Kami, if he wants to be able to make the move down towards. But obviously important to make sure that you're not losing too much of your map control as well, and TB with the illusion's one of the best heroes at being able to do that.
We might be in some trouble now though. Ramses was starting to pivot towards the tower, but...
He's holding a point for the Sunder, so we'll have that extra little bit of a safety net. I feel like if you've got 3 heroes up top and TB is still farming, then you're pretty happy on HYDRA continuously, right? Like Solo, he's doing his best to try and keep this bottom tower.
He was like 0.1 away though. That arrow was way too close. He's... Okay, never mind. He has plenty of strength to be able to shift into.
Also just getting the occult bracelet, so you know, just that little bit of extra magic resist feels nice. The big plus side, though, of course, Underlord take that bottom tower, Fiend's Gate up in another 10 or so seconds. I wonder if they're going to look to shape to make a move up towards this top side. Like, you just got a Javelin as well, and there we go, HYDRA go for the smoke together up towards the top lane, really looking to try and open this one up for the TB, but Antares in pretty good position to be able to catch this one out. Still lands.
But it does.
Should be a dead win ranger. Okay. Yeah. Liking how they're playing so far, though, right? Even committing the tombstone before the fight even starts and taking away a pretty big stack. I mean, if you could take this away from a Magnus, you're going to be feeling over the moon.
It's under a Radiant Ward, though.
Yeah.
9Pandas full awareness of what's going on. Is the chains enough to find the arrow? It is once again. The combos out, they're going to be lacking damage onto Miero. He's toying him as well, pump faking the RP. A little bit of PTSD, what happened previously, that top side of the map is...
Kiyotaka's coming from the backside.
He wants to make sure they're not able to escape off the back of getting this. Solo. Drop the Chain Frost, but a nice split away. It's going to end it. Kami. Cloud still's in trouble. Kami actually sunders up the Underlord, so he's okay. Now they'll turn Warwick. Gets the kill from afar. Solo's going to go down. 9Pandas don't have the greatest resources to continue with this team fight. It's really all going to be off the back of Miero if he can find a decent ultimate, but doing a great job to split up, and in the end, HYDRA, they'll just get the kill into Solo. They didn't take too many creeps, though, so looks like still Miero and Ramses will be able to get the Ancients.
Yeah, Warwick was looking to poke his head up there, just see if there was anything else for him to be able to snag, but yeah, I mean, if that lane went even mildly better for the Ember Spirit, he would probably have the Maelstrom at this time and be able to have actually stolen all those away, so... Ooh, another arrow attempted for Kiyotaka, but he had a creep to be able to block the way. Have to say, HYDRA pretty happy with this start, right? Like, they've got a solid start. They've got Kami off to a very, very good first 13 or so minutes of the game. He's almost getting into the Manta style for himself, or just the Yasha at this very early stage, so able to keep those lanes pushed away, and someone needs to be able to deal with this Underlord. No one can at this stage, right? It's going to be much more of a later game.
Kiyotaka's making an aggressive dive. Lil doesn't actually end up going down. Now, Warwick might be in some trouble, though. One more remnant to play with. He's going to be able to get some distance away, but Kiyotaka played the line. Unfortunately, it's a bit too difficult for him to be able to maneuver aggressively with HYDRA bringing every single member but Kami there, who is in some trouble top, though. Ramses and Miero making the attempt. Ramses is out of ultimate charges. He ran back in. Oh, Kami. Oh, no, he was out. Tower would have done the damage regardless, though. It's a 1-for-1 top lane. Both the carries will go down.
I mean, I'd say you're pretty happy, though, if you're Ramses still, right? You kill the TB that was continuing to scale a little bit further out of control, giving him his first death of the entire game. Also, with that aggression, it forced the Underlord. He went back through the Fiend's Gate towards the mid lane and then had to TP up towards top just to try and protect the TB. So, puts a lot of less pressure on the mid lane, a lot less pressure on bottom. That enables Kiyotaka now to come down towards this bottom side and start to scale into some of those later game items, because Morphling with a Diffusal Blade, not exactly something that you see all that often.
Radiant's middle tower is under
Oh, they're
attack.
feeling strong on HYDRA. Washer aggressively trying to take this T1 tower. Panda's gonna have to give it up, so
Middle tower has fallen.
second tower, in fact all T1 towers is gonna go the way of the HYDRA already 15 minutes in. Very impressed with the early game, and this is all still off the back of Warwick having an abysmal start, but importantly he's level 10, has Maelstrom now, so if they can convert on this kill, Warwick will shortly be able to catch up, and well, they're gonna be able to catch Miero. Chains is on the mark. Arrows soon to fly as well. Another death onto the offlane Magnus. Miero's going to make him work for it. The boys are starting to rotate in, but Solo, there's not really much a Lich is going to be able to do to keep his offlane alive, so HYDRA, they'll convert on that smoke.
You'd have to imagine, even just looking at Solo's build, right? He's gone 4-1-1 on the Lich, so not as much value being given over to the Frost Shield, but I mean, against a Terror Blade and an Ember Spirit, it feels like there's a few times that they may be able to get a quick kill onto the Ember Spirit here.
They got him? Oh, Cloud though, that's still a pretty decent pip of the arrow. Nice sidestep. Ramses almost got clipped by the arrow, potentially would have gone down as a result, but I'm surprised they're able to get Warwick there. Looks like the chain control was enough. Perfect use of the Remnant Shackle along with the Gaze.
It was very, very well used in combination. I do want to see a little bit more out of this Frost Shield, right? Like, you are going up against very, very heavy physical damage for this early part, right? It feels like a lot of these early fights has been off of the back of the Ember Spirit, using some of those ganks to catch up a little bit, and now that he's got that maxed out Sleight of Fist, makes it a lot more challenging for a Morphling that, yeah, he's got the Agi for the increased armor, but he's been having to shift towards strength a fair amount just because of Lil's gameplay. Like, he's been really on point with this Mirana as they look to make another move down towards the bottom side. Don't want to catch Solo, and they'll see that he's been patrolling around this area, so I wonder if they take the long way around, but it seems like Warwick just wants to use that haste ASAP.
They will unfortunately run into Solo. Kiyotaka. Keep is right next to the engagement. Just inside the fog of war, so they won't be able to see it's the Morphling escape, but they will get Solo nonetheless. They're also going to be able to link up with Kami, who's got the meta. So it looks like they're gearing up potentially for a little bit of damage into the tier 2 tower bottom. Let's see what Pandas want to do to defend this though. I mean, meanwhile across the map, Kiyotaka trying to get some damage into the tier 1 mid, so at least they will be able to find this trade.
Yeah, I was wondering if they would look to make that move up towards the top side first, because Miero was actually sticking around up there for quite some time, but instead he's able to walk away because of that little bit of hesitation. You know, just a couple of seconds is all that they need on 9Pandas to be able to get out of dodge. Their ability, excuse me, to read the map is just second to none.
When do you think that HYDRA can force Roshan? Because they've got a very good lineup with Meta and with Tombstone and Flesh Golem. Is it maybe the Skadi on Kami?
Potentially. It might also just be like they want to be fighting around a little bit more of like their deep vision that's going to enable pickoffs, because a lot of the vision that they've got right now up around the top side is a little bit more defensive, right? No one's farming around the Lotus Orb, no one's farming around that top river rune, but at the very bottom of the map, that's where the cliff ward where Miro is pathing past now isn't going to clip with any sort of sentry, so you might find a quick pickoff onto him like they're pinging him right now. But it's actually Ramses as well, also farming underneath the ward, so no smoke being used, but a random arrow being thrown out is not going to land.
Should know at least.
This is where they wanted to be taking the fights, though, right? This is where the aggressive vision is.
Ramses is getting very farmed. Second Ember, 3-1-1. Mantis style now completed as well. Just needs a Kori to deliver the ultimate orb. You mentioned.
Want to try and get a kill onto Kiyotaka. I mean, another random arrow doesn't quite land. Not using the Searing Chain setup, but I mean, he's now got the Manta style on Kiyotaka as well, so this Spirit Vessel that Lil has isn't going to be as impactful as they're wanting it to be.
Kiyotaka. After the ult might just blow. What is that damage? Kiyotaka. Oh my, just obliterated Warwick's health, and now with the Ember going down, that's going to put a stop to this attempt on the tier 2 tower. Kami so at half duration left on the meta. As soon as they see the TB top lane, then they know bottom is completely free. They can potentially look to D-Ward, shove mid, shove bot, continue to free farm. And like you said, I mean, 9Pandas, they're a lineup that are going to be very confident scaling to the late game. Their cores are looking good. Like, we haven't spoken much about Miero, but he's got Vanguard Echo very close to Blink Dagger as well. So he too is hitting some very important items.
Yeah, and that's what the great thing about this Magnus hero is, right? We've seen in Eastern Europe a bunch of people, if they feel like they need to be that solo carry, going the 1-4-1 and then just all into attributes. This time around, because of that start that the Morphling has, because Ramses has been able to scale off the back of his Empower, it means that, you know what, I'm going to go into the Skewer. It's going to be a perfect sort of time to sync up with the Blink Dagger as well. And now it might be the first time that 9Pandas actually make an aggressive move to try and take a tier 1 tower outside of that mid lane, which was really only off the back of Kiyotaka dominating it. Got full value out of their Observer Ward as well that is just about to expire. So they do remove a little bit of their control around the jungle, but Miero, he's actually going to go for the Crimson Guard. Don't hate it, but Harpoon will feel quite nice as well. Yeah, has to be careful.
Yeah, they got the blink. So he's got to be really cautious because Miero's at the ready. RP, drag back into the chain control. It's a perfect setup. 9Pandas converting on the smoke. Happy's going to be able to TP out. But this could potentially be Roshan. Yeah, I think they will. Let's see if Ramses wants to come down as well. They do so much damage with these 3 cores.
Yep. For sure. They make sure that they've got some... Yeah, Solar Crest too. They've got some decent Sentry Ward coverage, but right now, it's just all 9Pandas. You know, this is the start that they were hoping for. The Chain Frost wasn't completely on point by Solo, but you know what? Doesn't matter. They've got a little bit of margin for error just because if it does get to this late stage, they're going to be able to scale. Smoke's coming in to try and interrupt it, but it's just going to be too slow.
They might be able to fight with RP down. Let's see. You've got the Ember respawning as well.
Maybe they're just waiting for someone to show a way on the other side of the map before they make that sort of play. The arrow shows in the lane for now.
Is the pick going to be long enough to be able to set up for the arrow, though? Even Meta's committed as well. Miera's just going to TP out. Chains is still there, so Warwick, they'll get the mag, but as the game goes on... Actually, I'll hold that because Kiyotaka and Solo on the retreat. They're under the ward. So HYDRA able to sniff them out. They might just go for the tier 2 tower instead of potentially more kills, but this is going to be an issue as the game goes on for HYDRA. Their capability to start fights is very limited to a chains into arrow or pit into arrow as Kiyotaka. He's right. And it's a waveform now.
And Ramses is pushing top as well. So, no, you know, you've already got the Aegis, and, you know, this lane was pretty effectively pushed out as well. You know, you might say that Miera dying is a really bad thing, but before he died, he made sure that creep wave wasn't there. Now they've got the Glyph as well to be able to clear out this next wave. It also protects the top wave a little bit further. So Ramses is actually just trading against a Terrorblade right now in terms of tower taking. That's how much impact he's having up on this top side. He's almost got a Nullifier as well. I think that's a Nullifier.
Yeah.
Radiant's bottom tower has fallen.
Nah, it's got to be. Surely not. There we go. Helm's queued up now.
Right.
Shadows take us.
Can they find the quick pick off onto Ramses? Kami might have just walked into that lane a little bit too soon, and as soon as they see that Moonlight Shadow, should just mean a lot of defensive clumping coming through from the 9Pandas.
What do HYDRA actually do, man? You're playing to 2 Mantas. It's impossible to be able to get the... It's either a pit or Searing Chains and Arrow. That there is nothing else, and now you have a way to get rid of it. So it's almost like you need to start working your way into a Hex. Because otherwise, Pandas are always going to get out of the way.
Yep. I mean, Lil had a Yule Scepter queued up, and I think he still does. I mean, he's got the Staff of Wizardry available, but... I mean, it's another way to a little bit more reliably get some of this lockdown, but again, it's just relying on him to be so on point with a lot of his arrows, and he's been pretty good so far. It's just like, you gotta be superhuman to be able to make this work. Has
been so far in a couple of occasions, but unfortunately cannot always be superhuman for Lil, so... We'll see if he's going to be able to pull something out of the hat, and I mean the rest of HYDRA as well, because this game is slowly starting to slip out of their grasp. I know it's only 3,000 net worth lead, but it doesn't seem like it's going to get too much easier as the game goes on. I mean, you've got Scepter now completed for Kiyotaka as well. We haven't really spoken about that, but that heavily deals with your Terrorblade.
Yeah, for sure, and it's not like he's been able to get into the Lincoln Sphere yet either, so that's going to be interrupting you as well. He just hit up onto his level 16, so he's got that increased morph duration as well. He's got the Grove Bow. He's even got an Illusion Rune bottled, so you don't even need to rely on your Manta style to be able to get out of the chains or the Pit of Malice.
Nice reflection. Kami. Able to stop Miera's blink. They're actually looking to run them in aggressively. Mio Kiyotaka, he ate the arrow. There we go. That's what we were mentioning. Lil had to go superhuman. He's going to do it for the first life. But meanwhile, Warwick was assassinated over to the right side as well, so Ramsey's fulfilling his role. They'll turn to Cloud next as the Underlord. He's a beefy man, but it's not going to be survivable enough as Cloud, he'll take the brunt of the force. Kiyotaka, whiffed RP from Miero. He's still going to try to get the closer. In, but Kami's a big issue now in this team fight as HYDRA. Can they get Miero as well? And it looks like they will, so in the end, all right. A couple of crazy arrows is all they need. Beautifully done from Lil, and the trade's going to be 2 for 2.
I mean, it's a couple of misplays coming through there from the 9Pandas, right? I can understand he pops the Illusion Rune after the arrow that landed onto him for the second life, but he also had popped the Manta style at the time. Happy actually might look to survive here. Okay. Doesn't want to give it up for free. Another arrow available.
Wait, no ultimate. Ramses. Oh no. Well done, Kami.
Getting a little bit greedy there was Mr. Ramses. Happy just looking to see if there's any sort of way for him to get vision up onto that high ground. Oh, saw almost a next level play. He was waiting for the Kobold up on the... no, the bounty is out of reach.
What is he just juicing it up? Trying to...
Yeah, sure, why not? But yeah, no, that was obviously amazing arrow coming through from Lil, right? But the Manta and the Illusion Rune were used not to perfection. You know, he used the Illusion Rune just before he died for the first life. The Manta meant that... I think he used the Manta really early on too, so he didn't actually have that when he spawned inside of the Pit of Malice after the Aegis. Let them get another use of the Spirit Vessel onto him. It's doing so much work, but it really shouldn't be, you know, and that's even without Miero. You know, unfortunately, whiffing the RP and then just ends up skewering the TB closer to the Morphling that was on a full-on retreat. Be able to take top tower regardless, though, even everything going absolutely perfectly for HYDRA in that past fight. I mean, the win probability stays almost the same. You know, it's even after that little bit of a dip further towards HYDRA, it just starts to scale back up. Roller coaster of Eastern European Dota. They even take away that top area for the TB to be able to farm, so it really wouldn't surprise me to see Kami just stick down here for the majority of the time. I think they need to try and just take away any and all vision that 9Pandas have to be able to play around and farm safely. Like, this is the period of the time where you need to take a risk and buy a gem, and looks like that is the case. Happy is just 40 gold away.
And I'm going to take a look at Lil's itemization, I mean, and his net worth as well. There, he may potentially overtake Warwick this game with how well he's doing so far, and I really hope he continues to put priority on his own farm too, because he does have that Hex queued up like we were mentioning a while ago, so it's still going to be quite some time until he's able to get into this item, but if he can find it, maybe then some other crazy things could happen.
I mean, but then there's always the potential of like, well, you can have this Hex, right? But then if you are under vision and Ramses just sees you, he nullifies you and you're basically dead. You know, zip through you twice, get the Resonant Pulse off, and yeah, Mirana with not too much in the form of stats, right? Like, there's a lot of utility coming out, but not too much in the form of stats right now, so she can really blow up. At least she's got that Philosopher's Stone, though, to be able to get a little bit of that extra gold from. They find the quick pick up here on Kiyotaka, and they'll see it.
Not an easy start, though. He was going to try and find the setup. Arrow's going to fly, does connect, but he was able to get the attribute shift off in time. Kami's still beating it to Kiyotaka, and he wanted to TP instead of waveforming away, so Kiyotaka goes down now, and Taris as well. On the chase. Everyone's able to help reposition, but Kiyotaka... Another death for the Morphling.
Just not expecting the entire team to be there, I guess, but I mean, that is the way that HYDRA are going to win this. Their team fight, it's not bad. You know, it is very heavily based around pickoff, of course, but you know, if they don't find that perfect pickoff, you're always going to have that counter initiation coming through from the Lich, from the Magnus, so you have to be very careful with how deep you go. But again, this is the draft that they've been forced to play. You know, it's not an easy game to win here from HYDRA, but just got to keep putting their foot on the offensive.
Bottom lane?
Quick pick on Ramses would help. I mean, they know meta's expired, so I wonder if this is the time where 9Pandas actually want to look to try and make something happen. Even just taking away something as simple as a tier 1 bottom, you know, opens up that Ancients area, reduces the places that Kami has that he could potentially be farming.
And Kami's got that big item now. He's got the Lincoln, so... You're able to address the Shackle, but really importantly, it's that Aghanim Scepter. I mean, you mentioned earlier that you did like to see him going to the Lincoln, so he's got that one now.
Poor Warwick. I mean, he's still sitting a fair ways behind, you know, almost equal in net worth to Lil. He's just level 15 versus the level 18 on Kiyotaka, who, by the way, you know, that gives him his 3rd point in the morph if he does want it, just for that increased level of uptime, increased cast range as well. But I wonder if they'll be able to see the fact that the TB has picked up the Lincolns. Not sure if he's shown on the lane as yet. Maybe the illusion's just providing that information, but here we go. HYDRA, this has to be another big win out of the smoke. Wanting another quick pick off underneath the vision. This one has been giving them a lot of value, this ward placement. Might be able to get that arrow onto Ramses, but...
It's hard though. Gonna try and hold him down with the pit. Looks like that's enough control to set up for the arrow. Ramses tries with the manta, but Warwick was ready. Chains there, and let's see what they're going to be able to get out of this now, though. 70 seconds with Ramsey down.
What is the creep wave doing? It's pulled onto the small camp on the right side, so they won't actually have a way to be able to go through the backdoor protection. What is this grief? They might just, yeah, that's what the laughs are that's coming through from the team. They might be forced to just do Roshan off the back of this, right? They had the meta popped. Actually, they did pop meta, but it gives them an option to be able to take it, right? It's sitting down bottom. Can't recall what the Roche respawn timer was, but it is still an objective going their way.
Definitely an unfortunate objective, though, because, again, Terrorblade's one of the... not the best Aegis carriers, but... of course, you're still happy with getting it compared to 9Pandas, so should be able to get this one for free.
Could even look to give it over to Warwick. I mean, off of that, he basically got 2 levels, and he's only 350 gold away from his Aghanims as well, so just to be able to have that extra ability to be able to dive in deep, maybe get a quick kill onto the Lich. Can't be underestimated. He's gone back towards this bottom side, though, and he doesn't have much mana on the Ember Spirit.
They know they're coming, though. They smoked underneath an Ember Illusion. So...
they gave Warwick the cheese. He'll need to use it pretty early on into this fight. Also has the great...
they're under the ward, Lil.
Oh, look! They see Void Spirit TPing behind.
Miera now, how can he be able to find the angle? They're all grouped up for the moment. They're going to be cautious. Miera's going to be at the ready with the up here, but it's going to be the Chain Frost that bounces back and forth. Kami's going to try and turn to deal with Ramses, but a quick Astral Step out at the left side will keep the Void Spirit healthy for the moment. Hydra, what's the call? A 4 on 5, but you've got the Aegis. Can you still commit on Phil? Over the right, Miero finds an opening, but it's just onto the Undying, not the ideal target. Oh, Warwick! What a slide dodge! Avoids the RP, turns and dices, gets rid of Miero. Now Kiyotaka, he's still in the area as well. He's got some boys to act as bodyguards, but Rams is a little bit too far away for the moment. He might jump over the top. Warwick again! Another dodge, one more remnant is not going to be able to escape though. Ramses in with the finishing blow. Kami against the world, but the meta, it's going to expire pretty shortly. He doesn't have too long of it left. They're going to avoid him though. Meta down, they'll kill off Cloud without the damage. There's going to be nothing they can do. Kami will sunder Cloud, but it's not really going to help out much at all. They're going to try and buy back on Hydra. Ramses actually, hang on a second. Astral Step, about to be up in a couple of seconds. Still got to simulate to work with as well. Ramses just able to get out of dodge, but Lil's hunting.
Miracle Arrow.
Arrow from afar, but it's going to be off the mark, and it looks like actually the Sunder from Kami was perfect. Kept Cloud alive. They didn't even lose the Aegis as well. Beautifully done. Hydra come out on top ever so barely in that fight.
Who ended up with the gem after all of that? It looks like Mirana was still able to salvage it at the very end. Forces a buyback out of happy, but I'd say you're pretty happy about the overall result. You know, you get a team fight win, you retain the Aegis, you still have it for the next 3 or so minutes, and what's the buyback status look like? Man, only the TB and the Morphling have it right now, so you find another one of those pickoffs onto Ramses, for example, and, you know, the neutral camps don't grief you, you could potentially be going high ground right now on Hydra. Take away this Tormentor first. I mean, I think it's just playing around an Underlord, right? Like, he has Atrophy Aura, he has Pipe, he has Crimson Guard, and he has Greaves. Like, obviously only gets one of those each off on the fight, but even just the passive from the Guardian Greaves ended up saving them for a good amount of time. You know, an additional 8 armor, 14.5 HP regen from that Guardian Greaves.
Quick reaction out of Lil.
Bit of Malice at any time.
He's going to be able to connect as well. Let's see if they have enough damage to the control. Ramsey's out, but meanwhile Warwick though, it's getting melted down. Bremnan's going to be able to give him enough time to reposition. But when the Metamorphosis is activated from Kami, he doesn't want to let Pandas be able to escape back to their high ground.
Might be happy to, though. Pit of Malice, just for a change, not on the mark, which means that they have to back off. They need that for the initial lockdown if you're not going to have the Searing Chains. The plus side is you've picked up level 18 now on Warwick, so he's got even more potential to be able to move in really quickly and get that burst damage out. I want to try and find that quick pickoff, and Miera might be the one.
Ramses isn't with the boys, Kiyotaka. What's up with the BKB and look to TP, yeah. Escape.
Should be able to get a tier 2 off the back of that, though, unless it's like the perfect setup from Miero, who is starting to scale himself, right? He's got the Harpoon now, he's got the Blink Dagger. 3 points in RP, so plenty of lockdown from him and some solid right-click damage as well off the back of the Titan Sliver, but...
Radiant structures are fortified.
Hero nearly got the yoink there. He'll be able to take out this tower though off the back of the illusions and a siege creep.
Tower has fallen.
It's the power of knowing that the enemy team doesn't have BKB. Tarka, I mean, most of the times at this stage of the game, you want a double damage rune or something like that.
Oh, Miero.
Miero. Oh,
Did he? No, he didn't use the
Done by
RP,
Lil.
still has it.
Lil just on point with that Yule Scepter usage, both for setting up kills onto the Void Spirit as well as saving his Ember right there. It's a lot more even than I was expecting. You know, this was meant to be the point of time that 9Pandas was looking to really put the foot down, say, we've reached our pinnacle mass, we've been farming. It is still a legitimate, like, dual core versus the one. Everything is around Kami right now, but they've just got everything to be able to buff him up. Solar Crest, Parvis, multiple auras coming through from Cloud. You almost wonder, I mean, the downside is that Lil, he's had to go away from that Scythe of Vice, but meant that he's been able to get into this Blink Dagger, so we'll be able to blink in, get the Yule Scepter off, leap away, and get a max length arrow off onto whichever pick-off target they find. So what I'm really looking for from HYDRA is, can they play around their vision? The downside is they've got 2 Observer Wards basically covering the exact same area, and an Observer Ward on the Twin Gate that really isn't going to be impactful for the next 5 or so minutes.
Ramsey. Okay. BKB just got delivered. Instantly forced to use it for Ramses. Do want to speak about him a little bit more though. I think this neutral item that he just was able to get, the Mindbreaker at tier 4, is going to be a big one for him. And not only the silence gives you a lot of kill threat now onto the supports, because that's really who he's looking to try and target down. But really, for me, even the stats are great as well. 30 attack speed for a hero that does a lot of right. I mean, he's hitting for over 500 within power, and also gives 45 extra magic damage too. So, like, it's a great neutral item for the Void Spirit.
Yep. Yes, indeed. They're not wanting him to get too much value out of it, though. Push continuing down towards the bottom side. Again, it's just about playing around the pickoff, right? That's the way that most teams lose games, that they're in a position to potentially win, is just venturing high ground before they're ready, either with an Aegis or before a quick pickoff. Ramses has to be careful. He doesn't have
see them all. Nero, though, it's only going to get the skill back onto one. RP's going to get layered down as well, but it looks like it's onto Cloud. Cloud doesn't care. Shrugs it off once again. You mentioned the Underlord. Oh, I'm hearing a BKB. Warwick in some trouble. Kiyotaka want to try and assassinate me with the shackles. It's perfect.
They've isolated.
Onto Kami. Can it get the Sunder off? Won't be able to. Solo's going to be there in time with a Sinister's Gaze. And now what's the call from HYDRA? Without your main damage source, it looks like the retreat is going to be called, but only 2 members will answer it. Happy, along with Cloud, will still go down. Kiyotaka, he's got the triple kill to come out on top inside that engagement. It looks like the gem doesn't get given over. Warwick was actually able to get on out with that one, but regardless, Pandas up to 11,000 net worth lead now after that one fire.
I mean, even before that fight, it was at 9, right? So it's pretty rare that you see... Well, okay, 4 bounties really helps things as well, bringing it up to 13. It's pretty rare that you see a situation where, you know, you're going up against an Aegis and your net worth grows by like 5k. You know, that's just... Well, quick pickoff. They're able to get on to Lil, who was unfortunately trying to do a bit of split pushing, keep the wave away for as long as possible, but will not be able to do so.
Dire's middle tower is
Power scaling, right? We were talking about the legitimate, like, dual core. It's almost a tri-core now with Miero off of the back of that. All you need is that one big skewer, right? Back into the base, you take out the Terrorblade that basically has half of his team's entire net worth, and the fight's over. You cannot continue to fight around this if Kami's not alive.
This game is just blown so far out of control now.
Yeah.
What'd you say? It was like 9k before that fight. Now all of a sudden it's up to 20k. 2 full sets of barracks. This is...
I talked about going high ground when you're not quite ready. You know, you need the pick off. And, well, to be fair, they had the perfect target to go onto, right? They saw Ramses. They knew he didn't have the BKB. They landed the Yule Scepter into the arrow. They didn't have the damage. You know, they were able to land the Frost Shield onto him, Parvis, Glimmer Cape, everything just to enable him to survive that initial burst. He gets out. There's still the chaos happening right in front of the base. Skewer back. Fight's done. And It almost feels like game's done.
It's potentially a miracle fight from HYDRA. There's smoke on smoke. They have any vision to play with though. Happy's going to drop the ward. Cloud on the front line.
Radiant are
So this is the ideal setup for HYDRA. They're going to run to Miero first. He's even got his own Manta.
I mean, it's useful for being able to break out of the roots, but even just a side effect of it, of course, is that sometimes the illusions block the inevitable arrow that's looking to come through as well. So very versatile. Also just helps them push out the lanes at other times as well. I mean, they're going to need to make something happen right now because top lane is pushing in.
Hero
Lane's going to be
Tarka?
doing that too.
Oh yeah, the arrow wasn't able to get the shift off as well, but
Oh,
the
the
RP importantly, it's onto the Terrorblade. That's the damage they needed to potentially take out Kiyotaka, and now 9Pandas, they're able to play accordingly. They'll bring the boys to be able to protect
Denied.
the Morphling. Still, he's isolated from the team. Another arrow's going to connect, but there's just
Don't have
no
the
more
damage.
follow-up. Kiyotaka, waveform out to the left side. They're still hunting though. Kami getting close the distance with the waveform being on cooldown. Silence is there as well, but it will not matter.
Oh,
Now
he's clipped.
Kami's clipped. He might be able to get the Manta down if he tries, but it might be a bit too late as HYDRA, they've already lost two. Couple and forced to buyback as well, and he doesn't get
Try.
lucky, so he'll TP out. No one will be there to cancel, but the damage has been dealt.
Not sure if he even wanted to get down at the end of that, right? Like, the buybacks had been used, but the boys weren't back at the fight. Underlord, as soon as those auras are gone as well, TB is just so much squishier. You saw how quickly Lil melted as well, right? Like, he's been really good at a lot of these utility item usages, but the man does not have a lot of HP. You know, 1500 to be able to blink in on top of a uber-farmed Ramses, he's just going to blow him up in a matter of seconds. Probably was less than a second, to be honest. Level 25 as well, so his Astral Step is going to crit too. He's just right-clicking creep waves for 950 on this Void Spirit. Roshan's up as well with the Aghanims. I mean, you'd love to give that over to, honestly, either Miero or Ramses. Both pretty good, just to be able to find that isolation with the Horn Toss, as well as, of course, what is still a very good Aghanim Scepter on the Void Spirit. Still throws out a random arrow, yoinks away some of these Lotuses. But it's just, you gotta just wait for the inevitable to come into you, and you don't have, unfortunately, any kind of reposition on HYDRA to potentially find that isolation. It's gonna rely on a misplay coming through from 9Pandas for them to lose this one.
It's looking like maybe they want to try and take one more fight outside the base on HYDRA.
Just catch them unawares, but there really is no reason at all for 9Pandas to ever want to split up.
And
No
fighting.
no black hole, no RP that they're going up against.
Dude, that's an aggressive waveform. He knows no fear. Has the Aegis to work with, so even if arrow connects this time, off on the way to the bank.
You can just go
One
through
more
backdoor
setup.
with that DD.
They're still gonna come out though. Card's getting set up with Kami nearby. Meta is at the ready.
You gotta find the backline. Like, you cannot just walk into this Morphling. I think you gotta try and take out the Lich, take away that Force Staff, Glimmercape, Parvis, Frost Shield, and they find that full-on wraparound. They don't have the glyph, so it has to happen right now.
Ramses. Instant reaction out of the BKB. He's gonna look to jump Happy. Couple of right clicks, and Happy's gone. What can
Right, found the
Kami do?
backline.
All eyes on the Terrorblade for the damage. Miero's going to try and make the attempt. Skew is back in a range for the Shackle. That's perfect. RP only used to help secure the kill at the last second, and now they're looking for the cleanup. The buybacks will come out, but without the meta to work with, there's going to be no damage that the Terrorblade can pump into this last team fight, as Cloud will still go down. Now 9Pandas, they can celebrate with a couple of kills inside the base. It's time to pillage. It's time to claim their territory as your own. It's about to be Megas and Miero. Well, he's caught up to Kami as well. Don't even want him. They don't even want him. Go for the buildings. Just leave him alone.
Cool guys don't look at explosions, and 9Pandas, they're not really seeing HYDRA yet. You know, they got a little bit of a scare at the very start of the game, trying to maybe lock in the Magnus in the base. Could get a kill onto Miero potentially, but not even. Just pops the Crimson Guard. He's totally fine.
Oh.
And they're able to close this one out in 45 minutes.
Double GG, well played. Kami, I don't know if you saw, but Kami wrote GG and he was instantly out of that game. So,
It's just one of those games where he's like, I did my job, and he did, but it's just, it comes down to the draft for me, right? Like, you didn't have that big turnaround, you didn't have that other core to potentially scale, and, you know, Underlord, while he was able to limit the farm that you were able to get on Ramses at the very start of the game, it wasn't really taking towers. Like, that small camp aggroing the creep wave with the siege creep, somehow, I don't know how it happened, but that really was their last chance, in my opinion, to be able to make something happen. They got the Aegis out of it, but that's not what they wanted. They wanted that passive lane, pushing in, forcing 9Pandas to potentially play a little bit more isolated, split up, so that they could find that pick off and make it happen again. But as soon as that happened, 9Pandas just dusted themselves off, said, right, we're ready to fight 5-on-5. Let's not make that same mistake again. And, Miero, a couple of shaky RPs at the start, but last 10 or so minutes, perfection.
Yeah, that was indeed for him. And I wonder if for HYDRA, if they look towards this next draft and just try and make the game a little bit easier to execute. Because like we were saying, there's going to be a lot of difficulty in fights where you can use Tombstone, you can use Meta, but how are you going to take fights around that? You had a lot of difficulties early on with being, honestly, it felt like they got pretty lucky with some of the arrows from Lil. Like, he was just playing incredible at the early game.
Skill.
All skill for Lil. So, maybe next game, we just see them have an easier lineup to execute in regards to team fights, in regards to fighting, so they don't have to rely on some of that your crazy mechanical skill to come out. Because for 9Pandas as well, we saw what could happen with this ultra last pick, right? We don't see it often, but Kirotaka playing carry-esque hero like the Morphling. I mean, he absolutely bodied Warwick. Warwick was still like 5-1, maybe even 5-1 at one stage. So he still had a decent involvement in the early game. But you mentioned, like, this is a tri-call lineup at the end of the day, and we just weren't really able to see the value out of him with how rough of a lane he had.
Yep, that's for sure. But it's just game one. If we know anything about 9Pandas, Spirit, even now BetBoom, now that they've got a loss against Team Spirit, is that, 3-game series, they're not out of the realm of possibilities. So we'll see if 9Pandas are able to close it out in a 2-0, or if HYDRA can bring it back. We got to go to a short break, though, so get a snack and be right back.